Mass arrests last night. Curfew in Los Angeles. The Marines have arrived following the LA riots ongoing. It's now day 5 going into day 6. And ICE is preparing raids in 5 Democrat states. And this outlines exactly where we are as a country. The Democrats have prepared for this. Liberal activists have prepared for this. And it's only going to get worse. The question now is whether or not the Republicans and Donald Trump have what it takes to actually enforce the laws of this country. Right now, liberal activists and personalities are expressing outrage. Why? They're arguing, as is Gavin Newsom in his flubbed address last night, audio wasn't working, that Donald Trump is simply having workers, gardeners, chefs, dishwashers arrested. They're saying it straight up. This was always going to be the fallback rhetoric. They are saying Donald Trump isn't arresting criminal illegal immigrants. He's arresting migrants. This was the Overton window push they've been planning forever. ICE is going to arrest and deport anyone here illegally. And that's what they're doing. They're going to be doing it in 5 more Democrat states, some big cities. And this is now the shock and outrage. It's the marching orders. The personalities are telling the average liberal voter, can you believe it? Trump's actually just arresting any migrant. They're lying. But here's the point. If the Democrats did not have sanctuary jurisdictions, the Republicans would have a 27-seat majority. That also confers a likely 27 electoral vote swing towards the Republican Party. That is, this country doesn't actually support the wackaloon lefty ideas like castrating children, but it's propped up by flooding these states with non-citizens to bolster their count in the census. And if Trump does not stop it now, it's over. As the political power shifts in this country due to the presence of illegal immigrants, people on the right will have to pander to more voting leftist positions. That is, the way Democrats have set up the electoral system through illegal immigration. Let's say there's a congressional district, and they got 775,000 people. Let's say 600,000 are actual citizens. That means there's 175K people who can't vote, but grant an electoral college vote to some individual. This increases the voting power of Democrats by around, I mean, what are we looking at, 5%? I believe it would be just around 5% boost to their voting power. This means that if Republicans want to win, that's a 10-point swing. They need to pander to liberals to get those votes being pulled leftward because the left has weighted their votes beneficially through sanctuary policies. If Trump mass deports the people here illegally, Democrats will never win again, and they know it. New York Post reports ICE preparing raids in 5 Democrat states as emotional Newsom warns California may be first, but it clearly won't end here. Before we get started, my friends, hey, pop over to castbrew.com and pick up some coffee. We got delicious coffee. We got Appalachian Nights. We got Ian's Graphene Dream Low Acidity Coffee. Everybody loves that one. It sells like hotcakes. And then we've got coffee pods. Pick up whatever you can. Support the show. Support the work that we do by heading over to castbrew.com. But let's get back to that news story from the New York Post. ICE tactical units are gearing up to conduct raids in 5 Democrat-led areas as California Governor Gavin Newsom held back tears. Did he really? I don't know about that. While slamming President Trump for trying to crack down on riots over such raids. The tactical units are set to deploy into New York City, Philadelphia, Northern Virginia, Chicago, and Seattle, sources told MSNBC, without giving an exact timeline. Previous ICE raids led to distressing scenes in downtown LA after protests quickly escalated into full-blown riots over the last 5 days. Now, Gavin Newsom is lying, saying we had no problems until Donald Trump intervened. We had 3 days of riots, police vehicles smashed and destroyed, ICE agents physically attacked, Waymo vehicles torched. Waymo is pulling out of the downtown LA area. In response to this, not LA law enforcement. In response to ICE agents being attacked, Trump said, we're going to bring in the National Guard and put an end to this so that ICE can do their job. A lot of people predicted this would happen. And now I warn you because we predict exactly where this will go. Democrats are lying. Liberals are lying. They're claiming there was no violence. I've seen the posts on Facebook. I see what these people are saying. I see what these prominent liberal personalities in media are saying. They're lying. They're claiming there was no violence until Trump sent in the National Guard. They're saying that these were peaceful protests and then Trump attacked. I don't care. None of it matters. Sooner or later, people are going to wake up to what we are actually dealing with, and they're going to stop trying to make an argument to someone who's planned 10 years in advance how they're going to burn your home to the ground. Okay? They've been cheating for decades. They're cheating today, and they're lying to steal political power and rip this country to bits. 27 is the estimated advantage Republicans would have if Democrats started actually enforcing immigration law. That is to say, Democrats are what Democrats have always been, using a second-class citizenry to bolster their voting power. The Three-Fifths Compromise? Yeah, that was Democrats in the South saying our slaves should vote. And the North said no, because you have dominion over these people. So they compromised. Democrats are now effectively doing the exact same thing. Illegal immigrants are brought to these jurisdictions where they cannot vote, but grant political power to an ideological political party. Okay, well, I tell you this, Democrats lost last time, they're going to lose again. If Republicans pay attention, if Donald Trump means it, and he actually gets his big, beautiful bill passed through, which don't get me wrong, there are bad things in it. It's not all perfect. But if he gets his funding for ICE and CBP and we get these mass deportations, Democrats will never win again. And maybe we can start to restore the function of this country. Maybe we can then start to reverse the horrible spending trends this country's been perpetuating for decades. They go on to say, Newsom condemned Trump's decisions during an emotional televised address Tuesday night. Well, yeah. Gavin Newsom's major address impacted by audio problem as LA curfew looms. So we were live on Timcast IRL wondering why it was we couldn't hear anything. And I thought it was on our end. And I'm like, crap, we're not getting audio. And then everyone pointed out in the comments, in the replies, yeah, Gavin Newsom just screwed this one up. Now, I think he made a big mistake with his speech because he went very heavy-handed with it. And as I said, from a PR standpoint, less is more, Gavin. Less is more. He invoked January 6th, which is actually a negative for Democrats right now because of the rioting. And he just talked too much. Less is more, brother. He says Donald Trump, without consulting with California's law enforcement leaders, commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets illegally and for no reason. Listen, you're not going to convince cultists. They don't want to be convinced. Gavin Newsom is a snake and a liar. Donald Trump was legally allowed to take the National Guard. It's called Title 10. There was a reason for doing this. Federal law enforcement was attacked in mass riots for no reason. They're going to keep lying. Sitting here and trying to argue with them is pointless. So, I wonder where this goes, really. Now, Fox News has reported as of this morning, the Marines have arrived. The curfew is in full force. There have apparently been many arrests. I imagine it's just going to escalate. We have, I'd say, 3 parent tree scenarios. First, escalation isn't all of them. That's important. But the first one, maybe. Donald Trump enforces the law, deports these individuals, Democrats lose. Also, we have Donald Trump failing to enforce the law as a second scenario. Democrats reject it, resist it. Trump isn't strong enough, and the Democrats never lose again. And then lastly, Civil war. You want to know why I say that? Let me show you the rhetoric that has emerged now from the Democratic Party. As predicted, I was not wrong in everything I laid out. And I will stress, my friends, that is because sometimes what people will claim is a prediction is not so much. I will be the first to admit many of the things I've stated are vague, faux predictions at best, saying this seems like it's possible. But there are a few things that I said are inevitable. Few. First, Trump will use the military to enforce immigration and deportation. Everybody agreed with that. Because it was impossible that when Trump said he was going to use the police, it's impossible that Trump would have all of the police everywhere enforce deportations when you consider sanctuary states will not allow their police to do that. He would need to protect these efforts with military of some sort. The response, of course, is that Democrats would not allow this. They wouldn't just sit by and do nothing. And I was told that I was crazy. Democrats aren't going to do anything. Trump's going to get away with it. Okay. Adam Kinzinger. I'm not sure why Gavin Newsom doesn't activate the rest of his army guard to prevent the president from it or force him to overrule it, then fight on the Second Amendment guaranteeing a state right to a militia. How can a state have a militia if the president can simply federalize it against the direct wishes of the governor? You see where this is all going? Kinzinger, faux Republican, saying that Newsom should activate the guard against Trump. I'm not saying to shoot at anybody, to defy the political authority of the federal government. We know where things like that go. Trump then challenges it, gives orders, and just like in 1861, there will be that famous moment of my country or my home. No one is immune to this. If you are, listen, there are cops in LA. And I'm seeing people say, back the blue. These cops are all liberals. Oh, maybe they're moderate, but spare me. These are not conservative, run-of-the-mill conservative cops, pro-Trump guys. Many of them probably are, but these are urban liberals. These cops probably have trans kids. They're not going to enforce when they're told not to do it. So what happens when Trump tries coming in? Kinzinger is now saying actively defy with the National Guard. Okay. The National Guard will then receive orders from Trump and he'll say, no, the president has the authority under Title 10, or he can invoke the Insurrection Act. Newsom's going to say, do not do this. And you know why people always choose their home? You live there. This is the stupidity of so many people when they say, where's the Mason-Dixon line? Who's going to be fighting? There were people in the South that didn't want to be in a civil war. A third of every state, actually, and sometimes more. Virginia was 2-1 anti-secession until Abraham Lincoln began to invade. Then Virginia joined with the rest of the southern states 2-1. But there was still about a third saying, we do not want to secede. So here's what I see as a reality. You own a home in California. Your kid goes to school in California. Your wife works in California. You serve the California Army National Guard. And your governor says, do not listen to Donald Trump. He is a fascist. He is illegitimate. And he is attacking us. What do you do? The federal government might come after you, sure. But the state can take your home. The feds will have a lot harder time of doing it. This is the line that is being drawn by people like Kinzinger. The feds can take your stuff. The feds can lock you up, but only if the state allows them to do it. So if Gavin Newsom says, defy or else, or he says, follow my orders or else, there's going to be a lot of people that say, man, I don't know what to do. That's what Adam Kinzinger is proposing. He's proposing the National Guard be ordered by Newsom so that if Trump tries to overrule him, it creates that controversy. A controversy that famously leads to civil wars. The Bolshevik Revolution, or I should say the February Revolution, or was it the October Revolution? A lot of tumult, huh? Basically, in these, you had military members ordered to shut down and stop the riots, and they refused. And why did they refuse? Because they did not have confidence in who was going to win. They made that movie Civil War. You may have seen it. And I thought it was silly. But they did make an interesting point. At a certain point, the authority of the president becomes meaningless because the president doesn't have the ability to enact, to exact, to execute. So what happens then is you're a regular guy and you're thinking, who do I listen to? As Matt Taibbi described it, it's two vehicles rushing full speed to a police station. Two men jump out of the car and yell to the police chief, arrest that man. That's a moment, isn't it? So we'll see. We'll see how this escalates. But Donald Trump and the Republicans, if they don't execute these mass deportations, then we lose. You'll be in a gulag, I guess, because they're lying about everything. They've called for the arrest of J.D. Vance. They call and for breaking no laws. Stay tuned. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. More segments to come. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast, and we'll see you all then.